Being a Kid, ugh, read by the author Tracy R.L. O'Flaherty. Chapter 17, Choose Love. Where would we start when we cannot change our childhood, or yesterday for that matter? Where would we begin? Where would I begin to mend the broken? Where would you begin to mend the broken? How far back in time would we have to go back to start? And to start what? Peace. Peace in one's heart. Peace on the planet. When do we know peace on the planet and peace in our heart? We arrive upon Mother Earth all carrying something. We have to. We hold ourselves in the highest light, in the highest regard, for we know of the love and expansion. We know we are eternal light, and in the coming forth we must forget in order to seek. We have to fill our basket, so to speak. But what do we fill it with? What is our first years like as we learn our conditioning and our nurturing? What do we do when we are so new to our arrival? A few days upon the planet. What do we know until we are taught? What do we know intuitively until others get a hold of us to embark on the grand journey of beliefs and rules, the doctrines and the disciplines from others? To be mindful, even as a very small child, our knowing not to step out of line, and yet we know to take our first step. Days of childhood to be embraced, days of childhood to be remembered, days of childhood to understand of life in the truth or in the lies that we thought were truth. And again, what is truth to one is most certainly not truth to another. Therefore, my truth is my truth. Your truth is your truth, and yet, is it truth at all? For what are we made to believe? Or what do we choose to believe? Whose truth is it? Has it been handed down generation after generation? For as a small child, we are experiencing life through the ones around us. We are experiencing life through the stories around us. For we wouldn't know about war without having it upon our lap, be it through television or conversation. But as a 1-year-old, most likely, the child does not know what a gun is, and yet, how many children are holding guns? How many children know of guns and war before the age of 2? I grew up in a small place with endless backyards to run in. I understand this isn't life for many. I understand that children grow in populated cities. I understand my experience is not the experience of all children. I also understand that I cannot have your experience and you cannot have mine. And even if we were in the same place, in the same time, witnessing and experiencing the same moment in time, we would each have our own perception of it. What is seen as a gift? What is seen as a hindrance? Isn't it all in perception? I want to see the goodness in all things. I know of the contrast. You know of the contrast. I guess the best we can do, regardless of any of our experiences, is to see another perspective of the same thing. I could have visited my childhood home and witnessed the destruction of it, and chose to only see the beauty in the worn world I once knew to be full. I chose to see my hometown in the gray shade, even though reality provided the truth that it was indeed gray. I chose to see the gray. What if I looked beyond my experience? What if we all looked at something that feels so disappointing and find the truth that holds the grace in the opposite of? It is not easy to live in a world through the eyes of Source. Most moments, most days, it feels that living through the eyes of love is not possible. It isn't realistic. It just isn't possible with our experience. How do we feel good when it doesn't feel good? How do we make the best of a difficult situation and see it through the eyes of loving Source? You would have to be Source to only see the world in love. How would we be Source in this world? The world we know because we were kids, because we were teenagers, because we are adults. How, with all our experiences, we become to see the world as Source sees us. I ask myself each day, how do I see all this through the eyes of love? If love is the answer, and I am sure that it is, how do I find it when I don't see it? How do I see it when I don't ever find it? How do I feel it when it isn't felt? How does one live in love after life experiences that cause the upset and the havoc? How do we see the world in the way that Source would see it? How do we know what is truth and what is a lie? How do we know that our convictions is the truth and not a lie? And most certainly, how do we find compassion towards someone that holds their truth in the name of war? Each book that has ever been written through me, literally through me, as I don't know the next word that will be handwritten or typed. I do not know when the book ends or what the pages will be once the words are placed. I receive the words, and that is my truth. I am receiving the words from a place known to me as love, only love. Each book that was ever written through me has within the foundation of love, great love. Each book has the wisdom of compassion, great compassion, and great love. Each book has the guidance of kindness, great compassion, and great love. Each book touches upon the gift of forgiveness and grace, great forgiveness and grace, great kindness, great compassion, great love. All my work is to share the message that we are all here for grand reason and great purpose. All my writing that is shared so freely is also shared with me and I struggle all the time in the contrast we call life. I have the gift of mediumship. I hold my own wisdom along with the wisdom from above. And most days, I feel that I can't get it right. Most days, I feel the feeling of being less than, not more than. Most days, I hold heartache and painful suffering that in the name of love brought. And here I sit, typing the words and understanding that we are human, that I am human, that you are human, and the best we can do is to search for the treasures of love through the unloving. Holding a basket to be filled with chocolate eggs that have been hidden by a large rabbit, the anticipation of the treasure, and yet we all hold our own baskets, and we all hold the power to choose to fill our baskets. But what do we choose to place in our baskets to be carried for the day? Most times it isn't a feeling of worthiness. Most times it isn't a feeling of great love towards oneself or another. Most times we choose to hang on to the upset and the uneasiness. We choose to worry about things we cannot change, and we worry about the things that can be changed. And we worry because we don't change. Then we worry because we do. All my books hold the deepest of wisdom, timeless wisdom, written through me to the reader, written through me to me. For my days can prove to be challenging, my days that I wish I could float in the heavens with all my past loved ones, my days of missing what I once had, my days of being grateful that I no longer have what I once had. For isn't it all fascinating how we think, how we feel, how we act? Isn't it all fascinating how we get wrapped up in what others are doing, what others are acting, what others are sharing? And we forget to focus on what we are sharing. We cannot control another, not at all. We would like to at times, but truly, the only one that one can control is themselves. You can control your thoughts, but one must be extremely mindful. Thoughts can get out of hand so quickly. Have you ever worried because someone was late? They are minutes late and your mind wanders to why they are late. We tend to start a downward spiral of unwanted thoughts. We don't ever think the one is late because something just grand happened. We tend to think someone is late because something unwanted has happened. Isn't that fascinating? We have a choice in the unknowing of why the other is late, and most times we choose the fear. Fascinating. Perhaps, just perhaps, this is a good place to start.